Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at the SOG Vision XR LTE. So many years ago, back when the SOG Vision first came out, I did a video on the SOG Vision. They've now done an LTE version, which generally they do by replacing the stainless steel liners in one of their knives with carbon fiber. I previously did a review on the SOG Kiku XR LTE, which I really appreciate the change to carbon fiber in because this knife was too heavy for as small as it was. I'm not as sure that it matters as much on the Vision. So let's kind of get into the differences between the original Vision and the Vision LTE and see what benefits and what potential downsides there are. So one thing I was hoping that, given a couple years of progress, SOG would fix on this knife is that they would change the hardware. The hardware on these knives is all T6, which is just not smart, right? This is, especially on the pivot, this is the bolt you're going to be messing with the most. This is supposed to be like a heavy duty knife. They left it as T6, which means it's the most easy bolt in the universe to strip. That's a bad idea. I wish they had fixed that. They had several years to do it. Should have fixed that. The other thing, obviously, is that it is lighter. This knife on my scale came out to 3.5 ounces. The original Vision is 4.5 ounces. So you do save a full ounce off of the weight of a 3.5-inch blade knife by going to the carbon fiber liners. So the weight difference is pretty significant. I never noticed that this one was too heavy, but this one definitely feels a lot lighter. Edge retention on this one in my testing, the original Vision XR was not great. This one is better. It did 125 cuts in my edge retention test, but that's still not great. Other knives like my Reich M3 over here did a lot better. A lot of other knives I've tested, including some cheap ones like the or relatively inexpensive, like some Sativians, which I'm going to be reviewing soon, did much better than that. So it's a bit low for the CTS-XHP steel that's in there, but not terrible. It's on par with like a 440C or something, but that's a pretty low bar to set for something that's kind of this expensive. Here are some size comparisons. This is the Benchmade Griptilian, SOG Kiku XR LTE, which you've already kind of seen next to there, and a Spyderco Pacific Salt, which is a larger knife. So this is very much just kind of a mid-size standard, 3.5-inch blade-ish pocket knife. Overall, I love the ergonomics of this knife. One thing that has been a little bit of an issue with this one, the original Vision, is that the detent is actually a little loose on this. If I flick my wrist good on this one, I don't need to activate the lock, or I don't need to use the thumb stud or the flipper, and it just flips open. They've improved the detent on the new one so that it doesn't do that. You can feel it has a bit more detent on the newer version, which is a good thing. This one's just a bit loose. It does not interfere with the flipper action. It's still just fine. So don't worry about that. The detent is actually a good thing. Let's get into the disassembly and just look at how this kind of shakes out from here. I'm going to disassemble this one, and if there's a difference that I notice, we'll do the original one too. But I definitely want to get into this one so you can see the cool carbon fiber liners on here. There's the pivot. Comes out nice and easily because this is a new knife. I'll kind of go one side, take out all the bolts, and then do the other side if necessary. Longer bolt than I expected. So this one is turning the bolt through the other side, so I'm going to have to use two T6s to get that disassembled. So one thing to note as I take this side off is that the barrel nut that this bolt goes into here is keyed, so it's not supposed to spin when you take it out, but this one spins anyway, so that's kind of a little bit of a flaw in there. So I'm going to have to remove the bolts from this side because that keyed nut did not stay in, which means I'm going to have to also take off the pocket clip. And then this side I'm going to actually have to push out the pivot because it didn't come out like it was supposed to. So a little bit more complicated on the disassembly than anticipated, but it did come apart. Okay, so there's your slides for the XR lock, and there are your carbon fiber liners. Lock screws pop out, and then this side should come off. It's got a little bit of a bind there. Okay, so there's the carbon fiber liner. This is thin and pretty flexible. So this is what the steel bar lock stops against as it's pushing up and catching on the back of the blade. This will eventually be a durability concern, and that's the main reason why I'm not completely sold on the Vision XR. On the Kiku XR, look at how thick that carbon fiber is. It's literally twice as thick as this carbon fiber. This one, there's just not room to put that inside the knife, so they've had to make the carbon fiber liners the same dimensions as the steel liners on this. They've also left the same little tiny bearings, which I wasn't a real fan of in the original. So this one, definitely you're looking at a reduction in durability that you gain for the lightness. The Kiku XR is not as big of a reduction because, like I said, they left a lot more material in there on this one. So interesting new build. Not sure that I recommend it. I will put links for it down below in case you are interested in this knife. But that is my review, in that it's a good knife, improved detent, but they have traded some durability for the new lightness that this knife offers.